Hello, hello, hello. Good morning and welcome to Speak with Confidence. Now, over the last 2 years, I've asked hundreds of people what it is that they dislike or find difficult about public speaking. And this webinar is all about what they told me and how to fix it. So my name is Mark Faithful, and I've spent the last decade or so speaking to audiences of all shapes and sizes in conferences, in churches, in training courses, in boardrooms of companies that turn over a billion a year, and even in sheds and saunas. Then in 2018, I founded the Malmesbury Speakers Academy and started running public speaking and presentation skills courses. I then went on to become a finalist in the Professional Speaking Association's Speaker Factor competition and won the Southwest Regional Speaker of the Year award. Now, since then, I've met with hundreds of people as they've attended my webinars, online courses, public classes, and even corporate training events. And at the start of every single course or event, I ask people the same two questions. I say, why did you come here? And what is it that you want to learn? And the interesting thing is, across all those hundreds of people, dozens and dozens and dozens of events, there's really only three answers that people gave me. They said, I want to feel less stressed and anxious whenever I speak in public. They said, I want to know how to write and structure my talk. And they said, I want to be more influential. Oh dear, the phone's talking to me. They said, I want to be more influential and move the audience to take action. So the first one of those answers is probably no surprise. Yeah, people wanted to feel less anxious and stressed. After all, the fear of public speaking is the world's #1 social anxiety disorder. In fact, some studies estimate that 75% of people will suffer at some point in their lives from a fear or anxiety related to public speaking. Now, the people who fall into the second category, they want more help to write and structure their talk. Often they tend to be people who are more confident speakers, and what they're really keen to do is become more effective every time they stand up and speak. They want to express their ideas clearly so that the audience can understand them. They want to be interesting and entertaining even whenever they deliver a presentation or a talk. And speakers who really desire to be influential, they fall into that third category. The people who are really focused on the reason for their presentation. They know that they want to change people's minds, or they want to sell a product or a service, or they want to convince the audience to take some kind of action. And that is the ultimate aim of any talk, any presentation. Every time we stand up and speak, every time you stand up and speak, you are selling something. It might be a product, it might be a service, or it might be an idea, but we are always selling something. We can often forget that the ideas that we present in our talks, they have to be sold to the audience, because facts alone won't convince people to change their behaviors. Now, I'd say probably well over half the people who sign up on my classes or turn up for some coaching, they've got a significant anxiety or stress problem when it comes to public speaking or presenting, whether that's in a room full of people or doing something online in this strange new world that we live in. But what I've been really fascinated to discover over the last couple of years is that the root of the anxiety that people feel is often growing from other worries. Worries about the structure of their talk, or discomfort around the fact that they're feeling too salesy about some aspects of their presentation. In other words, for many people, the nerves and anxiety that they feel associated with public speaking was actually a symptom and not the main problem itself. And this has been such a breakthrough for many of the people that I work with. The realization that their public speaking anxiety was rooted in something specific that they could then change, and so eliminate that cause of stress. So today I'm going to share with you just the highlights from my proven solution to the top 3 problems that I've identified in my research over the last couple of years. Well, actually, let me just ask you a question. Think about this. Which of these 3 categories do you feel that you identify with most? Are you wanting to feel less stressed and anxious when you have to stand up and speak? Or are you wanting to know how to write and structure your talk, better and more effectively? Or you wanting to be more influential, so you want to be able to see the audience taking more action? Now, I've developed I think it's actually quite a simple model, but it's powerful, and it's the basis for all of my courses and it guides all of my students through the teaching. And I'm going to share with you today how to speak with more confidence so that you feel less anxious and stressed. I'll also touch briefly on how to speak with clarity so you can write and structure your talk more effectively, and also about how to speak with courage, which is the key to ethically influencing the audience to take some kind of action. And those are the three pillars: speak with confidence, speak with clarity, speak with courage. And when you bring all three of these things to the table, that's when the magic really starts to happen. Because when you speak with clarity, your audience will hear your message. Okay, you're wasting your time if your audience does not hear and understand you. And that's the first objective of any speaker. They want to be heard. Okay, and that's all about speaking with clarity. And secondly, you need to speak with confidence, because when you speak with confidence, the audience will believe your message. If the audience hears you but doesn't believe what you're saying, then you're wasting your time and theirs. Okay, and you're going to lose credibility. Speaking with confidence is the key to the audience believing your message. And if you're speaking with clarity, okay, and you're speaking with confidence, the audience is hearing, understanding, and believing your message, but there is something else you need. And that's the audience to actually do something. You want them to take some action. And that requires you to speak with courage. Because when you speak with courage, the audience will respond to your message. And that's the point, isn't it? You want your audience to hear you, you want them to believe you, and then you want them to take some kind of action. Because every time you stand up and speak, you're selling something. It might be a product, it might be a service, it might be an idea, or it might be yourself. But the point of your talk is to get the audience to buy into whatever it is that you're selling. This is the action that you want them to take. And you might have some further action that you want them to take as well, such as buy your book or book a consultation or commit to some sort of change, like stop buying food wrapped in single-use plastic. Whatever it is, whatever it is that you want to influence the audience to do, it requires you to speak with courage. Clarity, confidence, and courage. They're the three essential ingredients to great public speaking and presenting, whether you're in the room or online. Now, I say that as if it's a good, important thing, a great public speaking. So why does that matter? Is public speaking still an important skill today? So tell you what, why don't we get rid of my ugly mug? I'll swap over to some slides, and I'll take you through the body of today's presentation. So let's see if I can work the magic of this technology. Share the screen. There we go. Cool. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now. And we can turn off the video so you're not being distracted. Okay, so there are the slides. So today I want to talk about speaking with confidence. In a recent survey, people were asked to rank their top 10 fears in life. Okay, their top 10 fears in life. Dying came in at about number 4. Being alone came in at number 7 out of 10. And number 1 was public speaking. So in fact, most people would rather die alone than stand up and give a presentation. So at the heart of what I do is a very simple idea. Okay, if you don't feel comfortable giving presentations or doing public speaking, I will help you get comfortable. And if you're already comfortable, okay, I'll help you get great. And that's what today is about. That's the start of that journey. And what I'd like you to do is to think about your why. Why have you turned up today? What is the difference that you want to make through public speaking, through presenting? Do you want to, have you got something that you want to sell? Are you wanting to educate people? Are you trying to encourage them along a particular path? Have you got a cause that you want to evangelize? Are you trying to recruit volunteers? Are you wanting to lead people, inspire them? Why is it that you want to put yourself through this? because for some people it feels like torture. Why do you want to do all this work? You know, keep that in mind. We're going to come back to that idea. But what is your core motivation? And also, if you just imagine for a second, if you are someone who gets anxious about public speaking, if you find it stressful, imagine what it would be like in your home, in your office, for the people that you live with, for inside your own head. Imagine what life would be like if you were a more confident, capable, effective, influential and entertaining public speaker. If when someone says to you, oh, Bob's off sick, could you step in and do the presentation for him tomorrow? Rather than saying, oh no, you say, absolutely, I'd love to. How exciting. Imagine what that would be like. Why don't we take a second to do some introductions? So why don't you just pop into the chat one of these 3 words? I'd like to understand what it is that was your main motivation for coming today. So if you're here because of your job, okay, and you want to be more confident or effective at public speaking, presenting for your work, just type the word work into the chat. If you're here because of some kind of social event, okay, maybe you've got a wedding speech coming up, or you run a sports team or something like that, and so you need to speak socially, just type the word social into the chat and let me know. And actually, if you're here because you want to become a professional paid public speaker, okay, type the word speaker into the chat. If you could do that, that would be great. So we've got some answers coming through. So, okay, Amanda wants to be for work and for social, okay. For the others of you, just let me know as well. So there's a work, is another answer that's coming through. That's quite common, okay. So to type that in, because it will, I'll come back to this at the end. Okay, job interviews as well. That's yeah. So when you're selling yourself in that scenario, aren't you? Yeah, work and social, speaking for large groups, struggling when they get bigger. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Right, thank you for that. Keep them coming through. Now, remember I asked you to think about your why. Okay, so especially if anxiety and stress is a problem, remembering why you're doing it can really help. Kind of take that emotional spotlight off of how you're feeling and actually turn the focus onto something more important. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, there's a young lady in the news quite a lot called Malala, easy for you to say, Malala. And she was shot in the head by the Taliban for having the temerity of wanting to go to school. I'm sure you remember her story. And she was only a young teen at the time. And as she recovered from that injury, you know, within a year or so of that, she was stood on the floor of the United Nations in front of 600 grizzled old farts, however many millions of people watching her on YouTube, giving a presentation. Now, hard enough for any teenager, let alone a young girl who was brought up in a very repressive regime and being told that she's worthless all of her life. How did she cope with that stress and anxiety? Well, and I've got a quote from her there on the screen. And the point is, she says, I speak not for myself, but for those without a voice, those who have fought for their rights, their right to live in peace, their right to be treated with dignity, their right to equality of opportunity, and their right to be educated. In other words, she had in her own mind, front and center, the fact that she was doing something that was much more important than how Malala felt and whether or not people liked Malala. She was doing something. Yeah, her focus was on her audience. Her focus was on the people that she was going to help through her speaking. She wasn't focused on how she felt and how people thought about her. And that's the one of the key takeaways from today. Spoilers, but it's not all about you, because we might be tempted to think. There's me a couple of years ago, pre-bid. When we're stood on the stage and everyone's looking at us, we might be tempted to think that actually we're the important person in the room. Yeah, and so we start to think things quite naturally. Well, what do the audience think about me? Do they like me? Do they like my outfit? Do they like what I'm saying? What are they thinking about me? But it's not about us. Yeah. If we can make our focus not on how are we serving ourselves, but how are we serving the audience, it changes a whole load of the psychology and the emotions, and it starts to undermine the anxiety, because we're not focused on what are they thinking about me. We're focused on what do they think about themselves and how am I going to help them. And things really started to change for me a couple of years ago, as I said, when I started Moms to Speakers, and the catalyst for that was when I had a rather interesting encounter with a young armed policewoman when she caught me trying to smuggle a weapon into the Houses of Parliament. Now, I'll just leave that kind of dangling there, and I'll tell you the story another day. It was my motives were pure, I assure you. It's what we call a tease in the business. But that water cooler story, that dinner table anecdote, turned into a keynote presentation that kick-started my public speaking journey. And public speaking, the ability to speak in public is important. And I'll just take you through a couple of reasons why I care about this so much. Well, first of all is, and I'm sure you've noticed this in your life, those who rise to the top are the ones who can stand up and speak well. In whatever social group you can think of, in whatever situation, whether you're talking about the office you work in, or the social group you hang around, the football team, or the Amjam Society, or the local bird watchers club, or the parents who meet at the school gate, the ones who end up as leaders of the group are the ones who can stand up and speak well. I mean, Warren Buffett, he's a guy who knows something about business. And he said, the easiest way to add 50% to your market value is to learn to stand up and speak. So when you think about investing in your career, what is the skill that you can develop that will have the biggest impact on your market value, okay, and the value to your organization, your effectiveness as a leader, is the ability to stand up and speak. And one of the reasons for this is this concept of projection, which is we assume that what we cannot see, okay, we assume that what we cannot see is as good or as bad as what we can see. So let me unpack that for you for a second. So when you're stood in front of the board giving a presentation about a project, okay, the board can't see your project team. They can't see all the hard work that's going into the software you're developing. They can't see all the engineers working hard in the factory. All they can see is you. And so they will assume that the confidence and professionalism and the quality that everyone in your team has is as good or as bad as what you're projecting when you stand up and talk. If you're a salesperson and you go in and you're giving a sales pitch or an informational session, like a showcase or something in front of some clients or potential customers, the people in the room cannot see your fantastic customer service organization. They cannot see your squeaky clean factory with an impeccable safety record. They can't see the amazing products and services that you produce. All they can see is you. So people assume that your customer service, your quality, your engineering, your safety is as good or as bad as you in that moment when you're talking about your customer service, your safety, your quality, and your impeccable safety standard. Yeah. When I'm not saying it's right, I'm not saying it's fair, but it's the way human beings behave. This is the way we think. It's why slick salespeople can sell rubbish products, because we can't see the rubbish product. We can just see the slick salesperson stood there, And so we assume that the whole organization that they represent is as buttoned up, put together, professional and charismatic as the person stood in front of us. And it goes the opposite way as well. So by you becoming better, more confident, more clear, more courageous when you stand up and speak, when you present online, people will pass on those attributes to all the things that you're talking about. It's just the way the human mind works. And the other thing that happens is that confidence leaks. Now, it doesn't leak away, it doesn't disappear. What it does is it leaks from one area of life into another. Let me give you an example. There was a young lady who came on one of my courses, about a year ago or so now, and afterwards she told me that she really loved the course. It really boosted her confidence, and actually, her business had really taken off in the months that followed her coming on the Speak with Confidence course. Now, I found this. I was pleased to know this, but I found it confusing because I remember what this young lady did in her business. She sold secondhand baby clothes on eBay. So she doesn't speak to another human being all day long. She doesn't stand up and present about her business in any way. She doesn't do webinars, doesn't do social media videos. She doesn't use any of these skills. And the thing is, confidence leaks. So the fact that she'd gotten more confidence in this one area of her life that had been a real kind of bugbear, this monkey on her back since she was a teenager at school, this fear of public speaking, because she had dealt with that and it was no longer part of her life, actually she found that that confidence spilled over into all kinds of other areas. So she became more confident when she was negotiating. She became more confident when she was marketing. She became more confident when she was selling, and her whole business took off. So confidence leaks in a good way. It multiplies. So as I mentioned in the introduction, there's 3 key areas that we talk about at Morality Speakers Academy: speaking with clarity, confidence, and courage. And when you bring all 3 of those things to the table, that's when the magic happens. That's when great speaking happens. Because when you speak with clarity, okay, your audience will hear your message. There's no point in speaking if people can't hear you. And I'm not talking, can you hear me at the back? I'm speaking about, can you hear me as in, do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Does this resonate with you? Am I speaking a language you understand? Secondly, when you speak with confidence, your audience will believe your message. It's fine if people hear you, but they don't believe what you're saying. If you're undermining the believability because of the way you're delivering the message, again, you're going to be wasting your time. So when you speak with confidence, your audience will believe your message because they have to believe in you before they believe in your message. And thirdly, when you speak with courage, your audience will respond to your message. And that's what we want. It's fine if they hear us. It's fine if they believe us, but actually we want the audience to respond. We want them to put their hand up and say, yes, I want to buy your book. We want them to say, we agree with your proposal. We're going to fund your project. We want to say, yes, we're going to give you the job. We want the audience, whether it's one person or 1,000 people, to respond and do the thing that we want them to do. We want to know that we can ethically influence them in a particular direction. And that's all about speaking with courage. So let's just unpack these briefly. So speaking with clarity is about having great content that's well delivered. Okay? Without clarity, you won't be heard. And when I speak about content, this is the script, okay? This is the ability to craft an engaging script that takes an audience on a journey. It has payoffs, it has humor, it has learning points, it changes its pace and its tone, and it carries people along so they're not bored. Actually, they're engaged. They enjoy listening to you speak. And well delivered is about your diction, your projection, your tone of voice. Is it a formal presentation or is it relaxed? Are you talking about technical stuff to technical people? Or are you talking about technical stuff to lay people? And so you need to do some education along the way. Is the duration right? Is it too long? Is it too short? All these kinds of things. Okay, this is what speaking with clarity is all about. Speaking with confidence is also a 2-part beast. Okay, when you speak with confidence, people will believe you. And it's about having the emotional confidence. Okay, so you're not having nerves and anxiety. matched with some competence. Okay, so if you suffer from stage fright, if you look scared, okay, when you stand up to give a presentation, if you look scared, your audience will begin to feel scared, okay, because no one wants to sit through an uncomfortable presentation. No one wants to feel like they're in an episode of The Office, okay, and kind of cringing their way through and just wishing it was over because they just empathize with you and you're clearly in pain while you're stood up giving your presentation. Okay, the audience doesn't want to feel like that. And the competence side is what we call stagecraft. This is the kind of the art and science of speaking. It's the professional, it's the technical elements. And it gives you confidence because you know that you know how to do it properly. You know how to use the technology. You know how to use a microphone. You know how to stand. You know how to breathe. You know how to deliver an excellent presentation. Yeah, your body language matches your spoken words. All these kinds of things. This is all about the competence, and you need both. Okay, because confidence on its own won't get you through. You do need to have that technical competence as well. So if you have confidence on its own, you know, the risk is it can be like one of those train crash auditions on the X Factor, where someone comes out on stage. I'm sure you've seen them. They're full of confidence, but they can't actually sing, and it all kind of goes wrong at that point. So you need that confidence and that competence, which in turn gives you confidence as well. Okay, and that's what speaking with confidence is all about. And it makes you believable. And lastly, when you speak with courage, this is about having a nice, clear call to action, okay? Because you won't make the sale if you don't ask for it. And the sale might be, so would you like to give me the job? Or the sale might be, who's going to put their hand up and commit with me to stop buying food wrapped in single-use plastic? The sale might be, I've told you all about the poor orphans in Uganda. There's a bucket coming around, put some money in it so we can build them an orphanage. A nice, clear call to action is key to you being an effective speaker and moving your audience to take action. And the reason why it takes courage is that actually it's another opportunity for rejection, isn't it? If you've girded your loins, you've stirred up your strength, you've stood up, you've given your presentation, you've spoken for maybe 10 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, whatever it is. And as you're getting to the end, you're just glad it's over. I've done enough now, I want to sit down. But actually asking the audience to do something is another opportunity for rejection. So it takes courage to say, and who will stand with me? Who's going to buy? Put your hand up now, and whatever it is you want people to do. And if you don't ask, as any salesman will tell you, if you don't ask for the sale, you're much less likely to get the sale. Now, one of the ways that you can influence the audience is by building rapport with them. So helping the audience to know, like, and trust you as a person. And the best way to do that is by telling personal stories. Personal stories that don't set you up as some kind of superhero, but actually real, vulnerable personal stories, funny stories where you're the fall guy, that help the audience connect with you and realize that you are just like them. Maybe you've learned some things along the way, but how they feel today is how you felt a year ago. And now you're going to share with them what you've learned and what you've done, and they're going to want to go with you on that journey. And that's about speaking with courage. And when you do that, nice, clear call to action and personal stories, you build a rapport with the audience, you increase your influence with them, and then they're much more likely to respond to the thing that you're selling. Okay, that's kind of a good high-level summary. And what I'm going to do now for just the rest of the webinar is to dive in and talk about speaking with confidence and focusing on the emotional side of that. And to begin with, I want to think about what it is that you believe, okay? Because the beliefs that we have about ourselves and the things that we believe about the audience have a massive impact on our emotions and our confidence levels. When Henry Ford put it this way, he said, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. In other words, what he's saying is, we will never succeed at something that we believe we're not good at or we can't do. Yeah, because if I don't know, let's think of an example. Maybe you believe that you are a rubbish piano player, okay? Because you were always told, as you were growing up, people say, oh, you're tone deaf, you've got no sense of rhythm, there's no point in you trying to play the piano. But you decide to give it a go. You go and have one piano lesson, and actually you find it a bit hard, and you're not very good. What are you going to do? You're going to take that as confirmation of the thing that you already believed about yourself, that I'm not musical, and you'll give up straight away. Well, actually, the truth is, when everyone starts to play the piano, they start off and they're very rubbish. Yeah, everyone starts off as being very rubbish when they start to learn to play the piano. I know this because I've been trying to learn the piano as my lockdown project. But the things that we believe, we're looking for confirmation all the time. So if you believe that you're a rubbish speaker, if you believe that you're not good at public speaking, you'll be looking for evidence to back up that belief all the time. And we use this as an excuse just to give up. Okay, so this is why Henry Ford is right. So whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. Especially if you believe you can't, because we just use that as an excuse to give up. Let me just do a quick practical exercise. Okay. If you can ride a bicycle, just type yes into the chat. I'm sure most of you can. If you can't ride a bicycle, type no into the chat. Yeah, most of the time, 9 people out of 10 that I ever meet can ride a bicycle. So you can ride a bike? Yeah. Yeah. You can ride a bike. Absolutely. So if you think about all the skills that you mastered in order to be able to ride a bike, they were things like you learned balance, you learned hand-eye coordination, hand-eye foot coordination even, and overcoming the fear of falling off. And once you kind of mastered those 3 things, you could balance, your hands, your feet, your eyes, you were all coordinated, and you weren't scared of falling off every 2 seconds, then you were able to learn to ride a bicycle. Okay. And it's, what's the saying? It's like learning to ride a bike. Once you can do it, you can do it. Okay. Question number 2. Again, put yes or no into the chat. Can you walk a tightrope? Like the one in that picture. Gives me vertigo just to look at it. Right. So again, 9 people out of 10 say, no, I can't. No, not at all. No, I can't ride a tightrope. Right. No. But here's the thing. What do you think are the skills that you need to master in order to walk a tightrope? Could it be balance, hand-eye foot coordination, and overcoming the fear of falling off? All skills that you just said that you had. So it's not the ability to develop the skills that prevents you from walking a tightrope. It is the belief that you can't. You see? Our beliefs, we treat the stuff we believe as if they're facts about the world, when actually most of the time it's just crazy stuff we invented in our head. And this really impacts our ability to stand up and speak with confidence. Here's another way to look at it. Okay, I call it the speaker's terror barrier. So that's imagine that's you. Okay, getting your crazy on. You're living your best life, and you're living in what we call your comfort zone. What do I mean by that? I mean the things that you think on a daily basis, the actions that you take every day, the feelings that you feel every day, they are consistent. They are the same. You think the same kinds of thoughts, you do the same kinds of things, you feel the same kinds of emotions. Okay, you are in your comfort zone. You like it where you are. And then something happens, and you're tempted either to start to think different or act different. Maybe someone says, there's a promotion coming up, but you'll have to do more client presentations. Right? Do you go for it or not? Do you sign up to go on a course where you're going to have to stand up and do some public speaking? Yeah, when we start to act different, when we start to think different. So in other words, these are things outside of our comfort zone. Let's call them being in our growth zone, things in the green circle. When we start to act different or we start to think different, what happens? Our feelings rebel. It's almost as if the job of our feelings is to maintain the status quo. So whenever our actions start to change, whenever our thoughts start to change, our feelings step in to try and prevent that change. And so what happens is we get this doubt, fear, and anxiety that wells up on the inside of us. And as we start to feel that doubt, fear, and anxiety, we start to try and justify it with our thoughts. Like, well, I don't like public speaking. I don't want to go on that course. Maybe I'll cancel it. Maybe I'll not turn up to that webinar. And that's when we hit that terror barrier. It's when we have the opportunity to either give in to the doubt, fear, and anxiety, or we push on through, okay? Push on through and start to embrace those new kinds of actions or those new kinds of thoughts. And we get this in all areas of life. It's why people stay in jobs they don't like, yeah? Because they feel doubt, fear, and anxiety about the change. It's why people stay in relationships that are unhealthy, because we bang into that terror barrier. Yeah, we give into that doubt, fear, and anxiety rather than pushing through. But the interesting thing is, if you do push through, okay, and you continue to act different, you continue to think different, very quickly your feelings give up. And actually, you become comfortable in that new place. And those different kinds of thoughts, those different kinds of actions become your new normal. And look, if you can see the difference there, the comfort zone grows permanently to encompass those different kinds of thoughts, those different kinds of actions. They become part of your new enlarged comfort zone. Maslow put it this way. He says, we either step forward into growth or we step back into safety. Yeah, either step forward into growth or you'll step back into safety. When we bang into that terror barrier, and you'll notice this in yourself, you'll notice it in your teams, you'll notice it in your family, especially in your children. You know, the doubt, the fear, and the anxiety wells up when they're presented with something new. And do we step forward into growth or will you step back into safety? There's another little kind of fun thought example. So one of the great things about using Zoom is that we have the ability to turn on people's webcams. So why don't I just pick someone at random and I'll turn on your webcam and I'll give you a word to talk about, and you can talk about it for 60 seconds. You have an opportunity to practice public speaking. What do you reckon? If you would like to do that, say yes in the chat. Silence. Right. Actually, I can't really turn your webcam. Don't worry. Don't worry. I can't turn your webcam on. But just think about the emotional reaction that you had as I kind of said that thing. Because you've signed up onto a webinar about becoming a more confident speaker, right? So part of that is clearly going to be about practicing. So why do we want to try and avoid the things that we know that we need to do? Yeah, it's because our beliefs hold us back. Yeah, our beliefs hold us back. But here's some good news. 21 days is what psychologists reckon it takes to change your beliefs if you work on them. So if there's a thing that you fear, there's a thing that you don't like, if there's a thing that you treat as a fact about yourself that is holding you back, you can change that belief in 21 days. So that when someone says, do you want to do a presentation? Your response is not, no way. It is, yes way. How exciting. Please let me have a go. And 21 days in the context of your career, 21 days in the context of your life is really no time at all to get rid of the beliefs that are holding you back. We haven't got time to go into today how you can to action that belief change, but it's something that we cover in some of our other courses. Okay, let me give you some kind of practical stuff to help you become more confident. And one of the great way to become more confident is to have a nice, strong opening. Because if you can really nail that first 2 or 3 minutes, if you know that regardless of how you feel, regardless of what's going on, you can say those first couple of sentences exactly right all the time, you get off to a nice, strong start. You get a positive reaction from the audience. They smile, they laugh, they nod, whatever it is. And so you get that positive emotional boost, And actually, it sets you up for success through the rest of your presentation. So you're not starting by saying, "Hi, my name's John. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at public speaking. My presentation is rubbish, but I'll just." You just don't start by apologizing for yourself. So say something like, you can have a fun, interesting statistic. Did you know that in a recent survey, people were asked to rank their top 10 fears in life? Remember that one? Or you could, a quote. Now, Warren Buffett, he said, the easiest way to add 50% to your market value is to learn to stand up and speak. You could do something interesting with a picture on a slide, or you can have an interesting slide itself. Here's a great one for anyone in a leadership position or an HR position. I kind of grabbed this off LinkedIn. I didn't invent it myself, but it goes like this. Hey everyone, welcome to our away day today. I just want to give you a little thought experiment. If you take all the letters of the alphabet and you give them a score, so A is 1 and Z is 26, and we start to think about the things that we value here in the Okie Dokie Corporation. And one of the things that, one of our core values is knowledge, right? If we believe that if people know how to do their jobs, they'll be more successful. Well, if we take the letters of the word knowledge and we work out what their score is, look at that. The value of knowledge, the value of those letters, you get to 96%. That's pretty good, isn't it? Hey, we'd like to be 96% successful. I wonder how we can get a higher score. What else could we do apart from knowledge that gives you a better score than 96%? How about, hey, look at that, hard work. Knowledge is 96%, hard work is 98%. Wow, these things are important to us. If we have knowledge, we have hard work, we will succeed. But I wonder what it takes to get to 100%, hey? What do you think it takes to get to 100%? Well, let me tell you, my friends, attitude. Look at that. The score of attitude is 100%. These are things that we find important here at the Okie Dokie Corporation. Knowledge, hard work, but most of all, a good attitude. It's just a bit of fun, but it's much more engaging and interesting to start your presentation that way than to stand up and say, hello, my name's Bob, I'm a builder. Let me tell you about the way that we build stuff, right? So think hard about your opening, and you can have 2 or 3 kind of openings that you reuse in different situations that you become really, really good at confidently delivering, and you set yourself up for success. So let's think about finding your confidence. As I said, confidence is a 2-part piece. It's that emotional confidence, and it's the technical competence as well. Okay. And the thing is, if there's something that we fear, think about that emotional confidence again. Action is the antidote to fear. Fear never goes away on its own. You always have to take some kind of action. Or to put it another way, you don't stop feeling scared and then start doing more speaking. You do more speaking and then you realize that you've stopped feeling scared. Everyone is rubbish when they start. People like famous public speakers like Les Brown, $30,000 a night to book him to come and do a motivational speak. He was rubbish when he started. John Maxwell, the guy who mentored and coached me, he's the highest paid non-entertainment public speaker in the world. You can book him to come and do your corporate gig at Microsoft. He's $100,000 an hour. $100,000 an hour. And he says, when I started out, I was rubbish, but I got better with practice. Okay, speakers speak, and to get better at speaking, you need to speak. Just like to get better at playing the piano, you need to play the piano. And you're not as good as you want to be when you start out, but you get better with practice, and the confidence comes with practice, and you notice yourself getting better, and so you get into this virtuous cycle that the more you do, the better you get. Now, if you remember the 3 things that people said they found really difficult, okay, and one of them was about how to structure my presentation, how to structure my talk. So here's a little tool that I teach, which is great for a short talk, sort of 5 to 10 minutes. Just like when you're at school and your English teacher would say your essay has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Your talk should be broken down into blobs or chunks. And this is a great structure for a short talk. I call it grab, give, goal. Okay, so the first chunk, so say you had a 2-minute slot. Okay, imagine you'd be given a 2-minute slot at a team meeting. So the first third of your 2 minutes, do something to grab people's attention. Challenge them with an interesting or fascinating statistic. Tell them a short story or show them an interesting slide. Okay, but do something to grab people's attention. In the middle third, give them some valuable information. So what is it the audience wants to know or learn? And that's what you do in the middle third. And then at the end, that's when you have your goal response. That's when your call to action, and that's when you ask the audience to do something. Remember, every time you stand up and speak, you're selling something. And you might need to scratch your head and wonder, what is it that I'm selling? Imagine you're in a team meeting at work and you're just giving a status update on your project. What is it that you're selling? Well, actually, what you're selling is the fact that people feel confident that the project is being well run and they trust you. Okay, so how can you present the information in such a way that people have confidence that you're doing a good job? Yeah. So think about, what is it that you're selling, and that's what you tackle in your goal response. That's the last third of your short talk. So grab people's attention, give them the information that they're interested in, and then in the last third, that's when you get what you want out of that presentation. That's the goal response, the thing that you want the audience to do, the thing that you want the audience to buy into. And confidence comes from preparation. Okay, the more that you prepare, the more confident that you feel. The world's greatest swordsman, Musashi, lived in the late kind of 1700s. People would travel from all over the world to come and study sword fighting under samurai master Musashi. And he had a whole kind of sword fighting school, and people would buy his books and quote his words of wisdom. One of the things he was famous for saying is, he says, you can only fight as well as you've trained, as well as you've practiced, and you will only speak as well as you've prepared. Yeah. Yeah. Don't scorn the small opportunities. Put some time into preparing so that you're ready, and that you know that you're ready, which helps you feel more confident. There was a British politician in the Victorian age called Thomas Babington Macaulay, and he was well known for this particular quote. He said, if you want a 2-hour speech, I can prepare that for you in 2 days. If you want an hour speech, I want 2 weeks notice. But if you want a 10-minute speech, it's going to take 2 months. Right? Isn't that kind of the opposite way round to the way that we would normally react? If someone says to you, oh, can you do a 10-minute presentation tomorrow? You're like, yeah, fine. I'll fly by the seat of my pants. It'll be fine. But if someone asked for a 2-hour workshop, you'd be like, oh my goodness, give me a couple of months to prepare for it. And actually, the point that Macaulay was making was this. He says, don't scorn the small opportunities, because the less time you've got in your presentation, the more important it is that you have to work really hard to make sure that every word you share has value and impact. Otherwise, you won't get your point across. It's really hard to be concise. It's very easy to waffle. Yeah. So it's harder to have 10 minutes of value than it is to have 2 hours of waffle. Ernest Hemingway, the famous author, there's a story told about him getting into a bet in a bar. Hard to believe, I know, but Ernest Hemingway in a bar, and someone bet him that he couldn't write a short story in just 6 words. Well, Hemingway won the bet, and he had a 6-word short story, and he goes like this: for sale, baby shoes, never worn. Right? You know, it just kind of your mind kind of fills in the rest of the story, but 6 words, and there's a whole story there. So don't scorn the small opportunities, and put time in to prepare, even when it's only a 2-minute talk or a 5-minute talk. So we said that confidence was this kind of two-part beast, yeah. Confidence, competence, and the competence bit is what we call stagecraft, and it's when you are clearly in control when you stand up on the stage, and you know what you're doing, and all the different elements of stagecraft. So you're using PowerPoint correctly. You know how to use the PA and hold a microphone. You've practiced properly. You're using props well. Your position on the stage is correct. The pacing of the presentation is fine. It's not all monotone. It's not all the same speed. You know, when there is something exciting going on, then you get really excited about it, and people can tell you're excited. You don't have to say, we're really excited to launch our new product, because they can tell you're excited about your new product just by the way that you're talking about it. And, you know, so all these kind of elements of stagecraft are things that it's worth mastering. I haven't got time to go into them today, but I'll send you some resources about it afterwards. So where do we go from here? What are your next steps? So remember, great speaking comes when you bring clarity, confidence, and courage to the table. And today we've, you know, barely scratched the surface, probably less than 25% of what there is to talk about in terms of confidence, and less than 10% of clarity and courage. You remember the question I asked you at the beginning? Are you here because you want to get better at speaking for work or social events, or do you want to become a paid speaker, you know, as a new business or a sideline? Well, if you answered work or social, then I've got a course that I think would work for you. It's called Speak with Confidence. So it's kind of what this webinar is a bit like, an introduction for it. And if you want to become a paid speaker, then I have a program called How to Become a Motivational Speaker. I just take 60 seconds to give you a little bit of information about these two things. So Speak with Confidence, it's an online course, online training program. If you were to dive into it full time, you'd probably take you about a day to finish it. Most people spread it out over more than a day. It's online, it's self-paced, it's video-based teaching and workbooks. It's self-paced, and it has personal coaching feedback. And this is what I think makes Marvellously Speakers Academy unique. There's lots of online speaking courses available. I'm sure you can go and do a Google and find lots. But what makes us unique is that it's an interactive process. Okay, I'm involved personally with everyone who takes my courses, and through the course, you will write and deliver to your phone camera a talk, and then you'll send me a link to that video, and I'll give you some coaching feedback and say, this is what you're doing right, and this is what would be worth you working on. Here are some tips for you to improve. So you get that real-time feedback. It's not just head knowledge, it's practical exercise with some coaching built in. And then there's a monthly Q&A webinar as well, which, you know, once you've got the details, you're welcome to join, because actually you have lifetime access. So as the course grows and we add things like just a month ago, we added a module all on online presentations and online speaking, because of, you know, everyone was working from home nowadays. They need to learn how to do this stuff online. They're not standing up in the boardroom anymore. And when that module was added, everyone who'd previously bought the course, they just get it automatically for free. And there's a risk-free money-back guarantee. So all of my courses, and I've never had to make use of it, but ever since we started, said, look, if you're not delighted, then, you know, let me know. You have your money back. No problem. So that's Speak with Confidence. And if you're wanting to become more confident, clear and courageous when you're speaking at work or in social situations, then this one-day course is right for pretty much everyone. If speaking for a living is something that you want to get into, then How to Be a Motivational Speaker is the program for you. And actually, this is a complete business in a box solution. It takes 8 weeks to run through this program. We only allow 10 people in at a time, and we start from everything from, you know, well, what is your unique story that you're going to tell as a professional speaker, or inspirational speaker, motivational speaker, or a trainer? We teach you how to perfect your delivery, how to identify your market niche, how to advertise, how to find venues, how to fill them, how to get corporate bookings. I'll talk about how much I charge for my corporate work, so you can make sensible choices. All the tools and technology that you need, not just to do the presentations, but to run this kind of a business. And there's this online it's online sessions and there's extensive coaching. And again, it is lifetime access with a risk-free money back guarantee. So that's something that you're interested in. So that's what I would recommend for you. Now, I'm a very kind of straightforward person, so I'm not going to kind of dive into a hard sell. I've told you about a couple of these programs, and I'll send you some links so you can look at the details online. But what I would like to offer for you is a free 15-minute coaching call. So I provide coaching as part of what I do, and a lot of people find it very useful just to be able to talk through what it is that they're trying to do, and I can guide them. So, well, you know, this course would work for you, or this course would work for you, or actually, I think you need to do something totally different, and I'm not the right person to help you. But you're making an informed decision. So, as a way of kind of following on from today's webinar, I'd like to offer that to you all for free. I'll send you a link, but when I bring the webinar to a close, then it should automatically take you to a page on my website where you can just book a 15-minute call. So you dive straight into my diary, you can pick a day, pick a time, and book a 15-minute call, completely no obligation. It's not about me trying to sell you something. It's just talking through what your challenges are. I'll give you some advice, and if I've got some tools that I think will help, I'll just provide you with that information. Okay. So that's kind of it for me. If you had got any questions, feel free to post them into the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. Otherwise, feel free to hit reply to the email that I'll send you afterwards with more details about the programs. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, turn the video back on, just so I can say thanks for joining me, and bye for now. Take care. Thank you very much indeed.